Hi, everyone. Welcome to this week's Wilmington Biz Talk from the Greater Wilmington Business Journal. I'm Business Journal editor Vicki Janowski, and today we're going to be talking with Shane Faulkner, who's co-owner of the End of Days Distillery. Before we jump into our conversation, we're going to have a quick word from our sponsors, Cape Fear Realtors. And be sure, if you're watching us on our Facebook live stream, if you have questions for Shane or about the discussion while we're talking for the next 15-20 minutes, feel free to post that in the comments, and I'll keep an eye on it while we have our interview coming up. Be right back, and here's Ann Gardner from Cape Fear Realtors.
Hello, I'm Ann Gardner, CEO of Cape Fear Realtors. Realtors support this program's efforts to connect our community in meaningful dialogue with actionable insights. Realtors are dedicated professionals who build strong, resilient communities and businesses. Work with someone you can trust. Work with a realtor. Learn more at capefear.realtor.
All right, cheers, everybody. Today we're talking about the distilled spirits industry and what that might look like in the Wilmington market. You know, we've talked a lot and covered a lot in the Business Journal over the years about the growth of the brewery scene and craft breweries here in Wilmington. But there's also another area that's been slowly and steadily growing the past couple of years as well, and that's in the area of distilleries. So joining us today is Shane Faulkner with End of Days Distillery. Shane co-founded End of Days with his wife, Beth. And so we wanted to have him on to kind of tell us a little bit about their growth story, but also what the industry looks like here in Southeastern North Carolina as well. So Shane, thanks for joining us today. I understand you're spending a Thursday making bourbon.
Yeah, today it's good to be with everybody. And thank you, Vicki, for having us on. But yeah, today's a good day. We're making bourbon. It's coming out now. Been at it since about 6 this morning. And it should take all day, but yeah, it's a good day. It's always a good day making whiskey.
Remind us, so when did you guys actually open and start operations? It seems like you have been around here on your staple Castle Street for a while, but it hasn't been too terribly long.
Yeah, so the idea came around 2019. Grand opening, we found this incredible building. Grand opening happened February the 1st of 2020, which was 6 weeks before COVID. So we're pretty much a COVID business. About 2 years in the making now. So our February is going to be our 2-year anniversary, which we have some special things coming up, but it hasn't been long and it has gone by extremely fast.
Yeah, I forgot that was right at the beginning of the pandemic when you guys opened. I remember now, and through our coverage and our MADE awards that we actually gave you guys that year, because you started off and quickly started making hand sanitizer at the distillery. Remember back when you couldn't find it anywhere and there was a shortage, and that was kind of your big introduction to the Wilmington public overall, right?
Yeah, it was incredible. It was an unfortunate time to start a business, but I will say that, the community supported us extremely well when we started making hand sanitizer. I think today we've given out about 20,000 bottles of sanitizer for free. And then of course there were a lot of corporations that were supporting us. And, being a brand new business, we didn't qualify for any help with the COVID relief programs, with the PP money and, the loans. So we had to do whatever it took to, continue in a brand new business that you put your heart and soul into a place, and then 6 weeks later they're like, hey, you got to shut down. How do you go about doing that? But all that being said, we came in on the other side by the community just absolutely showing support, and they continue every release we have lines, and it's phenomenal. So we're very thankful to the Wilmington community. It's such a pleasure to be in business here in Wilmington.
So let's talk a little bit about those lines and that growth past couple of years. Jim Roberts, I see, has been good enough on the stream to put the link up to your interview for PBS Startup Show that you guys were featured in as one of the local Wilmington companies that was in that episode. So tell us a little bit about what you talked about there, and just over the past 2 years, what has End of Days going from 0 to where you guys are now? What's that been like, and where are you guys at now?
Yeah, it's actually been the best experience of my life. I get to do something I truly enjoy, to work with a team that is phenomenal, extremely talented, and to watch a business grow so fast that it's a little bit scary. And you always try to temper that with, you know, logistics and production and quality, and so for 2 years, I feel like we have just been going so fast. And at the same time, we're so young. We need that time behind us so that our bourbons are aging, our whiskeys, our ryes are aging, but at the same time producing our clears, getting into distribution. And we have seen an industry from the time that, you know, when I had the concept of building this distillery, there was no such thing as a lounge inside of a distillery. So it was come over, have a little taste, check out the facility, buy a t-shirt. Thanks for coming. Go to the ABC store if you remember us when you get back home. And so in the interim of building the distillery, all of these laws are changing. We're riding on the coattails of the beer and wine industry that took 20 years to change. Well, all of a sudden, month after month, laws are changing to where it's benefiting us, you know, exempt from health grades and pet friendly now. You can have pets inside, and you can have a full cocktail program. And by the way, it's unlimited sales out of the distillery. And now it's like direct to consumer. So just in the last 2 months, we've opened up 41 states for us to be able to ship our products from an online retailer called Spirit Hub. 41 states. That's all happened in several months. It used to be like 8 states. And then Washington, D.C., District of Columbia, is a direct to consumer. So we can directly ship from the distillery to the end user or the end buyer. So we see more states getting on board, and the laws changing in our favor. So I see this industry growing. I heard it's one of the fastest craft industries growing right now. And North Carolina is representing as a major player in the industry as well. We're part of the Distillers Association of North Carolina. I think it's extremely important to be part of those, because collaboratively we're changing things that needed to be changed. You know, we're dealing with prohibition laws that are so antiquated and make no sense. But COVID, believe it or not, has had a huge impact on that, because the consumer is the driver. The consumer is demanding that the industries are saying, hey, we want to sit at home and we want to sit on our computers and we want to order it and we want to enjoy it at home. And we want you to teach us how to make a drink. And at the same time, when I don't want to do that, I want to come to your bar, you know, and have a excellent cocktail. So the consumer is driving the demand and the change. And we're very thankful for that.
So with that industry growth that you're talking about, do you see a parallel between what we saw happen with the craft beers, craft breweries, and that become very regionalized? Are you starting to see more craft spirits pop up, or in other cities that you go to and such? Is that growing in the same way, similar to the way the craft beer was growing about a decade ago?
I would say absolutely. It is growing in a very similar fashion. The difference is our distributions, our markets are a little bit different than craft breweries. I think you're going to start seeing more craft breweries opening up distilleries, is what you'll find, to take on more market share, because craft distilleries are definitely taking a market share, especially in the RTD or the ready to drink cocktails, which we're producing. I will say that you know, we love Wilmington, we love North Carolina, but that's just the beginning for us. So our distribution is really outside of North Carolina, into multiple states, into large economies there. But at the same time, you have a very similar business with a different business model. A North Carolina distillery may want to stay regional or locally. As a matter of fact, I was talking to one of my good friends, and he's actually opening up a distillery here in Wilmington off of Dock Street, and he has no intentions of going into full distribution. He wants to be a local distillery, and that's a phenomenal idea. And you know, I would love to have both of those, really, because I think they're great. So I think you're going to see both. you're going to see some real players get into distribution and get their products out there and make a name, a brand name, and then you're going to have your localized, and you'll start seeing more and more of those distilleries pop up that are more organic and local instead of distributed out beyond North Carolina.
So speaking of local, then, what has the scene been like here locally, and what potential do you see it having?
North Carolina has not been known for high quality spirits up until a few years ago. And Asheville represents very well, Raleigh, Durham. There's a couple of really good distilleries in North Carolina, and they're starting to make a name for themselves. I think we're going to see a huge influx of new products, especially on the craft side. There's so many ideas, and it is a world that is unlimited in what we can produce. And so I think you're going to start seeing more of that on the craft side of things. I want to be one of those. I want to represent well, and I want to make really, really good products and then bring those to market.
How many products do you guys currently have now that you've gone into?
So we have our flagship port of entry, vodka, rum, gin. We have our barrel rested rum, our barrel rested gin. And then today at 2:00, we're doing an Instagram live where we're dropping one of our aged barrels of rum. We're actually dropping 2 barrel rum and then 2 square. It's a square anyway. It's for advanced aging techniques as well. And we're using woods from all over the world, from Mongolia to French, American, Brazil. So we're combining all of these different flavors, and that will become our aged rum, which is going to be released in February. And then we have our canned cocktails. So we have 3 products there as well that are going to be going into distribution. They're already available at the distillery, but we're more into still market testing. And we are ready, kind of poised, ready for April, May to go into full distribution in North Carolina. So I think that's 8, 9, plus our bourbon, which sold out. And then we're going to be releasing a rye this year. But those will all be small batches until our inventory starts to catch up with our distribution. Then we can start releasing larger batches of bourbon, larger batches of rye, and actually get into distribution. So our friends in Charlotte, Asheville, Raleigh can buy the bourbon without standing in line for 2 hours.
The canned cocktail, so that sounds like that's kind of a new area for you guys. And obviously that's been a popular segment in terms of canned drinks and canned mixed drinks. How does that work on the retail end? Where would you be able to sell it if you could get into? Is it just ABC stores? Yeah,
and this is part of the really it's totally unfair, because what happens is we're producing a spirit with the same amount of alcohol content as a malted spirit that you would find at the grocery store, but we're regulated because we're a controlled state that we can only be sold in an ABC store. Well, those laws are still being, they're up in the air, they're changing. But then you have a federal excise tax, which is 3 times maybe or more what a malt beverage of the same alcohol content would be charged. So we're not playing even on the same field, but they're requiring the same rules. And to me, that gives me a lot of okay, let's move forward with this, because we're selling them out of the distillery every day, and we're fixing to go into distribution. Let's be poised, ready, so that when those laws change, and they're changing, then we can go into hopefully Total Wine & More, which is making its presence in Wilmington. So right. If that ever happens, or Whole Foods or any of those local grocery stores that would like to pick us up, maybe we can get outside of an ABC store on a canned cocktail. I don't know. We'll see.
Interesting. So it sounds like a lot of laws and regulations still kind of in flux, or being at least debated too. So with your level that you're at now, or when you guys are looking for the future, are you guys outgrowing your current production space? That's a question we had come up on the stream as well. How are you guys doing there? Because you've always been, since you've opened, in that real unique space on Castle Street. You want to talk a little bit too before we get off about the growth of the Cargo District, but that's been your home since you started. Are you guys busting at the seams yet, or do you still have some leeway there?
Yeah, we busted at the seams about a year in. I was like, oh man, look at this huge building. It's awesome. Let's put a distillery in it. And then like 6 months later, I was like, wait, this is not going to be big enough. A year in, we're full. We have equipment like that big tank right here is not hooked up because I have another one, and we literally can't produce because we don't have enough space. You can see the ricks right behind me here. That's our barrel storage. And we just took a couple barrels down from rum, but we're full. We're full. And now we're stacking barrels everywhere we can find it. So recently we found a building right here in the cargo district, and it's an additional 7,000 square feet. So it's going to give us plenty of room to grow, kind of stretch our legs a little bit, and produce those canned cocktails in mass quantities for distribution. So to answer your question, yes, we ran out of space. We did something about it, and it's a good move for us to grow.
Will you move out of your current spot then and just move down the street to that? Or is that just going to be additional production capacity?
Additional production. Yeah. So everything will be made here. And then we bought a box truck, and we actually literally take our forklift and drive it down the street. Don't hope nobody on the city heard that. Just kidding. We can take the forklift right on over there. But anyway, everything's made here at EOD, and then it'll be taken over there, batched, carbonated, and canned. So it will give us a ton more room here in the distillery to continue producing really what got me into distilling in the first place, and that was the bourbons, whiskeys, rye.
Are you having any supply issues that are hitting some of the other industries, such as, I think we have a question about the availability of glass bottles. Has that been an issue for you guys?
Oh yeah, everything is an issue right now. However, that being said, we originally chose a company out of France to work with our glass. It's some of the best glass in the world. Comes from Italy and France. So because we chose one of the most expensive pieces of glass on the market. Have no regrets for that. I love the bottles. They present well. We're not using glass from Asia, and that's where the logistics are coming in, is where you cannot get the glass. We've been steadily fed by our suppliers, and we cannot be thankful enough. The only difference is we're ordering 6 months in advance, not knowing where the markets are at that point. So, our caps come from Portugal, like the corks, and they're custom made. So we have to order those 6 months in advance. We have to order glass 6 months in advance. Our labels, they're expensive and they have to be produced. And, those are 8 weeks out. But for the most part, we've been able to navigate by buying in bulk, larger quantities, taking advantage, unfortunately, of other people's misfortune, where if we found a distillery that was going out of business that happened to use the same glass, I would immediately offer to buy their glass. I have searched for caps where we ran out of corks. What do? You got glass and no corks. So I would reach out to a company and they were no longer using them. I'll buy them all. So it's the tenacity, never giving up, never taking no for an answer, and looking for a solution to get around the problem.
Okay, we had another question about your space specifically. Someone said that they had gone by, I think, and saw a wedding or an event there recently. Are you utilizing your space? I know you have the people, you have the bar area, you have the lounge area. Have you ever put any thought into having an event space there? And also, I think at one point we had talked to you about an idea or possibility of adding a commercial kitchen there. Are you still pursuing that too?
We are actually all of those things. I would love to do more events here, and we do a lot of private events. Obviously, we've got one coming up in February. We do have some small weddings, but we have production days. We have very few days where we're open to the public Wednesday through Saturday, and then we started opening on Sundays because that law changed. So now we can sell bottles on Sunday, which was awesome. So we're periodically be open on Sunday. So it's the information's available on our website if you want to look into using the space as an event space. We are pursuing a kitchen outside of the distillery, and it's more for like a catering style, kind of enhances the distillery in its needs, but also we have some really cool ideas coming for that. Bringing back some old school, you almost have to have been here for 15, 20 years to appreciate some of the restaurants that we've contacted and said, hey, you remember when you used to make this awesome pita from, like Sahara's or whatever, you had to have been there and experienced those old restaurants. We've been contacting some of them, making like kind of some guest appearances and keeping it nice and fresh. Who knows? It's still up in the air, and it's, you fly by the seat of your pants and you say, oh, that sounds fun. Let's do this. It'll be great for the neighborhood, for the distillery, and for the brand. Yeah.
But let's talk a little bit about the neighborhood before we have to let you go. So you have been there kind of a bookend on one part of the cargo district. And in the past 2 years, we've kind of seen that neighborhood really grow and other tenants come in. And for those of you who haven't been down there, name the cargo district, because a lot of the buildings have been built out of repurposed container cargo structures. You guys are in a correct me on the decade, what, 1930s hut?
We're 40s, yeah.
40s.
Yeah.
So what have you seen in terms of the growth of the neighborhood, and do you keep seeing it growing?
Oh yeah, I think it's just getting started. You've got a ton of areas from, the soda pop district around the corner. You've got the cargo district. As we continue to expand further, we take the bookend and move it. And that's something that Leslie or Sean and I have talked about over the years is how to expand the cargo district, continuously just growing it and bringing in what the community is wanting, restaurants and food options and breweries, cideries, distilleries, things like that. I think you're only going to see it grow. The entrepreneurial spirit, I think Jim can attest to this, is so strong in Wilmington, and people have got great ideas. I don't know, it must be the air around here. It's just, it makes you think about some possibilities, take some steps that you normally wouldn't have, and create something that people appreciate, or at least you appreciate. It's a wonderful area. So yeah, you're going to see it grow. You're going to see Wilmington start to collide in its districts and meld together. And I think that just creates a stronger overall economy of Wilmington and North Carolina. And it really puts us on the map for, we're a destination already because of the beach and downtown and the river. But now when you come, you have places to go and enjoy great restaurants.
And so for the space that you've absorbed, that additional space, was that existing building, or was it new?
No, it's an existing. We're going to take an old warehouse and revamp it. Got to put some lipstick on it, make it cool.
All right, great. All right, and so I guess to end our lunchtime session with you, Shane, let me ask you, what's your favorite drink, or what's your drink recommendation right now?
I'm loving a Negroni with barrel rested gin. It is spectacular. The rum old fashioned smoked with a cherry, you can't go wrong with. Those are probably my two go-tos right now. Definitely the barrel rested Negroni.
Great, thanks. Well, I know we do this BizTalk every Thursday, as you guys know who watch every week at lunchtime on Thursday. Maybe we should have moved this one to happy hour, and we could have shared one together. But thank you for sharing your time with us today, Shane, on especially with you working today. That's a lot of really interesting information and details I didn't know about the industry itself. So I appreciate you giving us the insight on that. And to everyone else, thanks for watching, and we'll be back here next Thursday, same time. And we'll be here at noon. Just wanted to point out real quick before we sign off, the new book on business is out, the 2022 Bob. So if you are a subscriber, you'll be receiving your copy in the mail. Keep an eye out for an announcement later this afternoon where you can officially see the new cover. And if you are not yet a subscriber, but subscribe by next week, you'll still automatically receive this year's publication. So thanks everyone, and we will see you here next week.